EU sanctions against North Korea. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. The United Nations Security Council voting unanimously today to halt North Korean exports, including coal, lead, iron, and seafood that could cost the country $1 billion in revenue.
North Korea's irresponsible and careless acts have just proved to be quite costly to the regime. This resolution is the single largest economic sanctions package ever leveled against the North Korean regime.
U.S. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. The ban was drafted by the United States and supported by China, North Korea's main ally, over Pyongyang's continuing missile development. The search continues for 3 U.S. Marines missing in the crash of their Osprey aircraft off the coast of Australia.
Defense officials say a MV-22 Osprey crashed after taking off from a U.S. Navy warship. The MV-22 is part helicopter, part plane. It's used to transport Marines into battle. 26 service members were on board at the time of the crash. 23 Marines are safe. 3 are missing. In a statement, the Marine Corps says, quote, the aircraft involved in the mishap had launched from the USS Bonhomme Richard and was conducting regularly scheduled operations when the aircraft entered the water.
Fox's Ellison Barber says President Trump is being kept up to date on those search efforts. Funeral services Saturday for a suburban Indianapolis police officer. Lieutenant Aaron Allen of the Southport, Indiana Police Department was shot to death a week ago Thursday by a man he was trying to rescue from an overturned car following an accident. Thousands of residents lined the streets leading to the Bankers Life Fieldhouse on Saturday to show their respects. American Airlines reports 10 people were hurt by severe turbulence Saturday afternoon as a flight from Athens, Greece approached the airport in Philadelphia. 7 passengers, 3 crew members taken to the hospital for evaluation. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Weather.
The official FM NewsTalk 97.1 Weather Center forecast calls for rain at times tonight through tomorrow with some embedded heavy thunderstorms. There is the potential for flooding, especially in poor drainage areas. The night's low will be 65. We stay cool tomorrow with a high 73. Clouds linger with a low of 66 tomorrow night. Then Monday, we warm up some, clouds break for some sunshine, and we'll have a high near 80. I'm meteorologist Frank Strait for FM NewsTalk 97.1.
Last chance clearance event. 2 locations. 1 amazing sales event only the driving force can do. It's all gotta go at both Royal Gate Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram locations in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois. During our limited time last chance clearance event, Royal Gate must clear out all remaining new inventory in order to make room for the incoming 18s. So if you're that buyer who waits until the absolute end of the model year to get the lowest price possible, this is it. Get massive summer clearance event price cuts. Huge factory rebates, max cash back for your trade-in whether it's paid for or not, plus immediate credit approval. Royal Gate's last chance clearance event, Manchester Road in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County, or online at royalgatecars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. Negative equity added to new contract minimum recorded income of $1,500 per month.
We need to fix this immigration system.
The RAISE Act.
Keeping you informed and up to date.
This is a major promise to the American people.
The stock market hit an all-time record high. Repeal and replace.
We're going to listen to President Trump. We're going to get her done.
Completion of Venezuela's collapse into dictatorship.
The news and talk station for St. Louis.
Tax reform.
Simpler, fairer, and lower.
FM News Talk 97.1.
Called clearly on Russia.
Younger, smarter.
Shaking the political world.
Better.
FM NewsTalk 97.1 presents Psych with Mike, with Michael Mahon. Brought to you by Royal Gate Dodge. Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, with the largest inventory of new Dodge vehicles in St. Louis. Visit them in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois. Online at royalgatecars.com. This is Psych with Mike.
Good evening, St. Louis. This is Psych with Mike. A little bit after 8. No light. So we are just a little bit of behind the scenes. We have an issue with the on-air light. We are on the air, though, so I did not see the light come on, so I was wondering if we were actually broadcasting. But this is Psych with Mike, a little bit after 8 p.m. on a Saturday night. And I just want to let everybody know that in just a bit, we are actually going to talk tonight about the internet, about technology, about smartphones, and the effect that these technologies and social media are having on us as human beings and also socially. So if you have anything that you want to talk about on that subject, or you have any questions, give us a call, 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797. We're going to get into that in just 1 second. So I just wanted to start off by saying, Mr. Ladd, I think you like this show.
What makes you say that?
Well,
other than I'm here every week.
Well, number one, that's obviously commitment to the cause is obviously something that indicates like. But you actually send me ideas for the show that we end up doing more than 50% of the time.
Well, that's good, right?
That's actually fantastic. I've said over and over and over again, I can't imagine working with anybody else. I didn't know what to expect going into this, but I could not be happier. But I loved the article that you sent me on smartphones and is this ruining an entire generation? And that was the launching pad for tonight's show, was that idea, because I've been actually inundated with exactly that question over the last couple of years.
Really?
Yeah. What is this technology doing to
kid.
us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Great.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say to begin that yesterday was, for me, the perfect day. So went with my future son-in-law to play golf down at Forest Park. I love the Dogwood course there that runs along Skinker and plays in front of the art gallery. Now,
there are what, 3 9-hole courses there? Is that how it works? And you can kind of mix and match which ones you play?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's, Rosebud, Dogwood, and the third one Hawthorne. And they are incredibly well kept. I don't know if people think about how this was back in the 1980s when there were bare spots out in the fairways and these were not very well kept.
You used to play a hole across Art Hill.
Yes.
There was a hole that came up to, as you're facing Art Hill, came up the left side of Art Hill, so you're hitting literally like straight up, and then one that the fairway was across the front of Art Hill in front of that statue. So yeah, I played it before back then. Glad they rearranged it and got that out of the way.
Rearranged it, spent a ton of money.
Absolutely.
Have made it absolutely beautiful. One of the really, if you haven't been down in forever, I would really encourage anybody who hasn't been down there and likes to play to give it a shot, because it is really a beautiful course. And so we went down and we played golf. I haven't had a regular partner in a while, and so I've been pretty sporadic. And I wasn't really expecting much and didn't play well, but didn't play horribly, about what I had expected. But we got on hole number 8, and he asked me for my daughter's hand in marriage, and I'm going to get a little verklempt right now. And
did you take a picture?
We did. Oh my gosh, where were you? I was so
on your smartphone.
Right. I was so out of it that I didn't even think about memorializing it. But now I wish that we had. But I was a little bit choked up, and it was hard to finish the last 2 holes. Maybe that's why. No, he was beating the pants off of me before that. But, we got through it, and it was fantastic. So, the Jeep's all apart. It's a beautiful day. We drive down to Forest Park. We play golf. We drive back, pick up my daughter, go to lunch. It was an absolutely fantastic day. Ended up going down and had dinner down at Kirkwood Station, which, if you've been down there, is just a great place to hang out and have dinner right next to the train tracks down in Kirkwood. So just all around, just an absolutely wonderful, perfect day.
Wonderful.
So how was your Friday?
My Friday was great. Went out with people, with friends after work. Went to have some pizza, sat outside. It was a perfect evening for that. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
shared some pizza. It was wonderful.
Great. So, there's actually been some stuff that's gone on in the world over the week, but I feel like we're almost all in shock because there's been so much stuff that's going on that if this week in any other administration would have been a big deal, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But yet I feel like it was pretty quiet.
But a lot happened.
And
it's
right.
like, boy, something that happened last Monday was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't have to get into a lot of politics. I don't feel like that a ton of stuff happened that had a real psychological bent to it. But I do think that the idea of the president and the use of social media does play very much apropos into the discussion tonight. So I wanted to start off just talking about that. I don't know how you feel about the president's use of Twitter. We've never actually discussed this, but for you, how does that strike you?
It seems like sometimes that it's not well thought out. Seems like a lot of sporadic tweets that are not necessarily planned, and sometimes they come across as shocking.
So let me play devil's advocate. I think that for most of what I have been hearing, the argument in support of the president's use of Twitter specifically, but social media in general, is that he has the direct line to the American people. Do you like the idea of that?
I don't necessarily think that there's not a direct line when he's a person that can schedule a speech and go on TV and every network covers it, that's not a direct line either. A. B, there's only so many people on Twitter. He's not reaching everybody that way.
Right.
It's a very, very small percentage of the national population that is on Twitter, and then obviously even smaller than that are followers of him.
Right. And not only that,
but so he's not getting to everybody by being on Twitter. Twitter out of all of the social media networks, it's not the largest.
Right. Absolutely. And so you make a great point that even if he's using that as a forum to be able to address the American people directly, he isn't. And I say issue, that might be too big of a word, but my issue with it is that 140 characters, I feel like, isn't the amount of space that I would want presidential ideas to be expressed in.
That's fair too. You want more nuance to it rather than the brief thought bubble.
Well, I think most people probably already know, if you've listened to this show or you've listened to me on the DGS or anything else, God forbid, come to see me do a presentation. If you can say something in 3 words, I'm all for saying it in 12. Now, that's not always a good thing, but it is, I believe, a way of giving people more information and more nuanced information and a more complete understanding. Now, I write differently than I speak. So when I write, I try and be more concise. When I speak, I try and be more informative in a narrative kind of way. And I would think that presidential canons or whatever it is that he is doing when he tweets, I feel like that isn't a robust enough forum to be able to present the ideas. Now, maybe other people feel like it is. Maybe other people feel like they get absolutely what they need. But it is indicative of exactly the conversation that we want to have tonight, which is in a social media context, what is it that is positive about that on a social interaction level, and what is it that is negative about that? And if we are going to be using social media, not just the president using social media to be able to address the nation and the individuals in the nation directly, but right now, what it is looking like is that we have an entire generation of individuals who are growing up and using social media as the primary way in which they are communicating with each other and the world.
LOL.
Right. I have no idea. Well, so I had a client who is actually in Turks and Caicos, and he went because I talk about Turks and Caicos all the time because I love Turks and Caicos. And I've actually had a couple of clients who have gone to Turks and Caicos because I talk about Turks and Caicos all the time. They should put me on the payroll.
This segment's sponsored by
Turks and Caicos. And so they went down there, and this young man that is my client, he ended up falling in with a local group of individuals who were making a promotional video, and he got to be in the video, and he even got a credit line in the video, and he sent me the link to it so that I could look at it, and it was a snorkeling video. It's very, very cool. And I was like, wow, what a great souvenir for your vacation. This is going up on YouTube, and it's just, it's slickly done, and it's produced and edited and everything, and he filmed some of it, and he's in some of it, and so it was just really, really cool. And so he was sending me texts with all of these shorthands in it, and then he had to come back and actually tell me what they meant because I didn't know. And now, I'm not saying that hasn't ever been going on. I mean, when we started saying cool and all kinds of other colloquialisms, that was use of language in a way that it wasn't normally used. And so people do that all the time, and I get it. But I wonder if with LOL and BTW and all this stuff, and now you hear these things, people say these things in regular conversation. So they'll just be talking to each other and they'll use this shorthand. And I'm not sure that that is necessarily a bad thing, but it is a thing, and it is something that we should pay attention to. And we need to ask ourselves, if this is the way that people are primarily going to interact, then does that have any kind of negative consequence or some kind of positive value? So again, if you want to be a part of this conversation, you can call us area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. So I wanted to go over just a little bit of the information. You sent me this article that I put up on the @Psych With Mike Facebook page and sent out @Psych With Mike Twitter. And I just wanted to go through. You said that you had read this earlier in the week, so you knew it and you were familiar with it, but you might not be up on all of the stats. So let me just talk to a little bit about some of the things that are in the article. So number one, the gal who's writing the article is a psychologist, and she has come up with a term for the generation that is growing up right now with social media and technology, and she calls them the iGen, which I think is actually very, very appropriate. And so for her, that's anybody that was born between the years 1995 and 2012. And these iGen people are individuals who have grown up with technology for their entire lives and don't remember a time before the internet. So yeah. I grew up in a time, I mean, literally, it's amazing to me. When I was born in 1964, we actually did not have a color TV. So we had a very, very small black and white television. I remember the first color TV that we ever got. And back in 1964, I don't know how many shows I don't know if there were any shows that were actually being televised in color at the time. If there were very few. So it was right when that was changing. And I remember the first color TV we got. I remember telephones being connected to a wall. And back then, you could have this. The cool kids had the 6-foot telephone cord, so they could actually pick the receiver up off of the thing that was mounted to the wall, and they could carry it around the corner and halfway down the basement stairs and close the door, and they could talk privately where their parents couldn't. Mm-hmm. My mom had literally like an 8-inch cord on there, so you could pick it up and stand right there. You couldn't move. And that was how we communicated. And when I was learning how to drive, if your parents said check in, that meant you had to find, I'm going to use a term that there are going to be some people that they don't know what this means, a pay phone. Okay?
And now, let them know where you were.
That's right. And if you don't know what a pay phone is, then you are in this iGen. And so the technology has changed so rapidly that it is literally incomprehensibly different today for me at 52 than the day that I was born. So we've seen the advent of color TV, telephones that you could put in your car. I remember the first mobile telephone, they called it a brick because it was as large and heavy as a brick. And you could literally work out with this thing. You could do curls with it, and it was not very efficient or it wasn't very convenient, but it didn't have cords, and we thought it was amazing. We thought that literally this was the advent of being able to go to Mars, right? It was the equivalent of that. I remember the first calculator being invented, right? So I grew up in a time when I was born, there were no calculators. People actually did math on a slide rule. And so when I was in school, we actually were taught how to use a slide rule. Now, obviously, by the time I got into high school, there were calculators, and so we didn't use those anymore. But that's how quickly the technology has changed. And so the question is, because of the rapid pace with which this technology has changed, and because there is an entire generation that now is growing up without remembering the days before this technology existed, does that make a difference? And for those of us who do remember a time before that technology existed, do we recognize the changes that are happening? Because I still, when I go home at night, when I go home tonight, I will turn my smartphone off. I will turn the power off, and I will set it next to my bed, and it will be turned off. How many people do that nowadays?
Yeah, probably none.
Probably none.
Plug it in, just let it sit there.
Or sleep with it. So a lot of people sleep with their phones now. So there was actually a mention in the article that you sent me of a young woman's bed that caught on fire because the battery overheated while she was sleeping with the phone in her bed.
Crazy.
Right. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about some of the actual statistics that were in the article, and then we're going to talk about what that means. If you have any questions, again, get us at 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. Join us on the other side. Be right back.
Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight.
This is Psych With Mike.
Traffic reports at your fingertips. Real-time traffic online.
Log on to 971talk.com for real-time traffic updates.
Brought to you by Frank Lita Acura with 0.9% financing going on now. Can't beat a Lita. Online at litaacura.com.
For over 40 years, Apache Village RV has been family-owned and operated. They strive on customer satisfaction and want to give you the best buying experience possible. Quality family time's incredibly hard to come by these days with the distractions of technology. So Apache Village wants to help bring your family together in an RV. And camping is one of the best ways to do that while going on an adventure. With over 500 RVs, new and used. Major markdowns are happening right now on the 2017s to make room for the 2018s arriving daily. Apache Village RV has something to fit everyone's budget. Check out the travel trailers, fifth wheels, and motorhomes from top manufacturers like Fleetwood, Jayco, and Keystone, with a full service department and parts store to get your camper ready for the road. Family owned since 1975, Apache Village RV strives to give their customers the best possible buying experience while helping families create memories that'll last a lifetime. Go one better. Go Apache Village. Dunn Road in Hazelwood open every day but Sunday. Like Apache Village RV on Facebook and check out their website for special offers. ApacheVillageRV.com.
Last chance clearance event. 2 locations. 1 amazing sales event only the driving force can do. It's all gotta go at both Royal Gate Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram locations in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois. During our limited time last chance clearance event, Royal Gate must clear out all remaining new inventory in order to make room for the incoming 18s. So if you're that buyer who waits until the absolute end of the model year to get the lowest price possible, this is it. Get massive summer clearance event price cuts. huge factory rebates, max cash back for your trade-in whether it's paid for or not, plus immediate credit approval. Royal Gate's last chance clearance event, Manchester Road in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County, or online at royalgatecars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. Negative equity added to new contract minimum reported income of $1,500 per month.
Trending on FM News Talk 97.1.
General Kelly has the full authority, and all staff will report to him.
If it's possible, an even better job as Chief of Staff.
That's right, sir.
Stay connected.
And we're really excited for a new day here in the White House.
Russia continues to divide free nations of Europe.
Worsening U.S.-Russia relations.
This is
North Korea, nuclear weapons.
FM News Talk 97.1.
The highest stock market in history.
Younger, smarter,
Tremendous things going.
better.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about starting to wade into this idea of social media, technology, and the way in which that might be affecting us. And I was talking about the way in which this has changed and the rapid pace of change, and that people in my generation may not necessarily appreciate the extent to which individuals who were born since 1985 or 1995 actually live with their technology. So I have one child who predates this, who was born in 1989, and one child who was born in 1996. So I do have one child who fits into this iGen generation, and I can say that their use of technology is different. So my son does not sleep with his smartphone, but my daughter does. So we were talking, were we on, Mike, when we were talking about the phone burning up?
Yes.
We were on, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
So we had talked about that
the one
there
in
was
bed.
that there was a reference in the article to a story where there was this young woman who had her phone in the bed. She slept with it, and that the phone overheated and it actually caught on fire. That I don't sleep with my phone. I actually turn my phone off. My son does not sleep with his phone. I don't know whether he turns it off or not, but my daughter does. So there is a difference in the way that individuals who are in this generation are actually interacting with their media than people who are outside of the generation. So they're going to be much more involved with the actual media. So my daughter has a Snapchat account. She has an Instagram account. She has a Facebook account. Now, as far as I know, my son, I think, is on Facebook. I don't think that he has a Snapchat. If he does, I don't think he's very active. I never hear him talking about it. I hear my daughter talk about it all the time. So they're interacting with the technology very differently. Now, what is going on behind the scenes is that is changing now even some of the demographics of what we think of in childhood and in adolescence. So one of the things that is happening is that the number of car accidents, kids are perceptually much physically safer in this new technological era. So car accidents are drastically down. Use of alcohol is not drastically, but is trending downward. And the idea here is that because people are not driving as early, so for people in my generation, if you didn't have a driver's license on your 16th birthday, people wanted to know what happened. Oh, you couldn't get a ride to the DMV, or you were sick, or some catastrophic thing had to happen, because everybody wanted their driver's license, if not the day they turned 16, the day before they turned 16. Because we all wanted to be able to drive cars and to be able to be free. Nowadays, the average age of obtaining a driver's license is 17 and a half. So people are waiting longer to be able to get their driver's licenses, and that is having an impact on the statistics that we normally associate with being an adolescent. So today, 12th graders in 2015 went out less than 8th graders in 2009 without their parents.
So like dating or just out and hanging out?
Out into the world.
Wow.
So statistically, what's happening is that kids are staying home. They're staying in the house with their parents. They are physically safer, but they are not interacting with their parents. So while these children are saying that they're staying home, and we can look at the statistics and we know that this is a factually accurate trend, what's also happening at the same time is that incidents of loneliness and depression are exponentially rising. So these kids are staying home, but they're not interacting with their parents. They're interacting with their, quote, friends, unquote, on these electronic devices. And so the question is, when you interact with an electronic device, is it the same as interacting with someone in person? And so there is a big area of research right now that is trying to paint a picture that being able to get psychotherapy called distance therapy, so over an internet connection, is just as good, if not better, than being able to come to someone's office and sit face-to-face with them and get psychotherapy. Now, what people are trying to say makes it better is that there's less stigma associated, there's less fear, because the person has the ability to remain anonymous while still getting therapy. I am a psychodynamic practitioner. I can't do my job if you're not in my office. I need to be able to see you, to be able to gauge your emotional reactions, and to be able to model emotional regulation, or else I can't effectively do my job. But there is a lot of therapists, a lot of people who do therapy out there who would like to be able to do therapy from Missouri with individuals who are in California. Now, I get it, because financially that makes sense. I now can service the entire nation, if not the entire English-speaking world. And if I'm multilingual, everybody who speaks any language that I understand, I get that. But can you effectively do the job? What are you losing over that internet connection? What are kids who are interacting over that internet connection, what are they losing in that? So in my line of work, what we call the essence of what is being lost is called presence. So when you are on that internet connection, you don't have presence. You don't have the ability to be able to see the micro expressions of the other person in the room, even if you are over Skype. So I do some therapy over Skype. And my rule is, if I have a pre-existing relationship with you, so I'm not going to start doing therapy with you on Skype, I have to have a pre-existing therapeutic relationship with you. Then if you move away and you would like to continue with me, I will do that, but I already know you well and you already know me well. Because if you think about it over Skype, that is only probably about 35 frames a second. So the refresh on the computer is only going to be 35 frames a second. Micro expressions happen in milliseconds or tenths of a second. So that means that those aren't always conveyed over the refresh rate over an average Skype connection. So all of that nonverbal information is still being lost, even if you think you can see the other person. So one of the things that people will say when they're in support of this idea of doing therapy over distance is, well, if you can do it over Skype, then you still get to see the person, but you still lose a lot of the information. So what is missing in being able to get that nonverbal behavior information is everything that is involved in what we call empathy. So empathy is the ability to feel what other people feel. Sympathy is the ability to understand how another person feels. So we actually have a biological ability to experience empathy, but we lose that ability to be able to apply that over an internet connection. There's no way to translate the information that is required to feel empathy over an internet connection. And I don't care how many people want to tell you that emojis imply emotion. That is not true. There's no emotional information being conveyed by the use of emojis. So we're losing all of the information that allow us to be able to experience an empathic response and an empathic connection to that other person. And so when we are primarily communicating over some form of technology, we are not experiencing empathy. And now we have an entire generation of individuals who may not ever actually learn empathy because they've never had the opportunity. So they don't, right? We already talked about they're in the house. They are physically safer, but they are not interacting at a higher level with other human beings. They're staying in their rooms, isolated, talking over some form of electronic device, and they're losing all of the ability to get that empathic information, and they're losing the ability to train themselves how to be able to use that information. So we have to take that into consideration. We have to account for that. Now, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe we can say, oh, well, we'll just change and we'll learn how to adapt. And maybe we will. I don't know. But as somebody whose entire practice and entire understanding of human psychology revolves around this empathic responsiveness and emotional regulation, this is a big concern for me. All right, so we're going to run to our second break. We're going to pick this up on the other side. If you have any questions, you want to get involved with the show tonight, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. We will be right back.
Instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize the lies.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
By the world, spinning round.
Watch the Mark Cox Show live on the Granite Transformation Studio Cam at 971talk.com/Cox. Log on to our website or use your mobile device to join the daily live stream and watch the show. It's the Granite Transformation Studio Cam at 971talk.com/Cox.
Never paint again. Seriously. Who wants to paint anyways? Rhino Shield would love to paint your home, business, or church for the last time. You know, when it's not raining. Water and sun are the two most damaging villains against your home's defense for chipping, cracking, peeling, and rot. Our permanent ceramic coating locks out 100% of the moisture, 90% of the sun's UV rays, and we back it up with a 25-year transferable warranty. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. See why we are rapidly becoming your neighbor's go-to solution for cracks, splits, nail pops, and just bad color schemes. Now's the time to be smart to save time and money. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Last chance clearance event. 2 locations. 1 amazing sales event only the driving force can do. It's all gotta go at both Royal Gate Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram locations in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois. During our limited time last chance clearance event, Royal Gate must clear out all remaining new inventory in order to make room for the incoming 18s. So if you're that buyer who waits until the absolute end of the model year to get the lowest price possible, this is it. Get massive summer clearance event price cuts. Huge factory rebates. Max cash back for your trade-in, whether it's paid for or not. Plus immediate credit approval. Royal Gate's last chance clearance event. Manchester Road in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County. Or online at RoyalGateCars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. Negative equity added to new contract minimum recorded income of $1,500 per month.
St. Charles, St. Louis, or Jefferson counties. Need knows no geographic boundaries when it comes to seniors, disabled, and sick kids without utilities.
St. Louis City, St. Clair, and Madison counties, and other parts of the region. People are struggling to keep cool this summer.
CoolDownStLouis.org uses 100% of your online donations to keep the air on for the needy. This is Melanie DeLeo. Please check on your senior neighbors.
Reverend Earl Nash Jr. here. Please give to CoolDownStLouis.org.
My name is Tom Thornton.
And my name is Cindy Thornton. We're retired, and this is how we live united.
We decided to volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
United Way is how we contribute, because we know our time and money are going to the right places.
Judging by the thank yous we get at the clinic, I'd say we're doing the right thing with our retirement, too. We're Tom and Cindy Thornton. We volunteer at our community free health clinic. We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Jamie Allman in the morning.
Monday, time to hang 'em high as Sessions goes after leakers. We've got the Gateway Pundit joining us and Rod the Bod and Rob Raines on sports, people.
On FM News Talk
97.1.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. This is Psych with Mike.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So before the break, we were talking about how the emotional or the information that people are getting over these connections through some form of technology aren't the same as one-on-one. And I was talking about how what's really dropping out of that is the information that allows you to experience empathy. And the reason why that is important is we were talking off Mike during the break, myself and intrepid producer Frank Ladd, that what's really falling out here is the ability to develop and maturate emotionally. So that means that you can't expect somebody who is 16 years old today to be as emotionally mature and developed as somebody in 1985 or even 20 years ago, 1995, back when the internet actually became ubiquitous. So we're losing some ability to get this empathic connectedness, this empathic information, and it's delaying our emotional maturation. So now we're looking at individuals who are emotionally maturing in their mid to late 20s and maybe even into their early 30s. And what I was saying off mic was that if we're going to extend life expectancy into the hundreds, which I think is minimally possible over the course of the next 15 or 20 years, then we have to also, then it might be okay if we are emotionally developing later. That might be okay. But we need to take that into consideration. Parents need to take that into consideration. The problem is, or my concern is, that sometimes parents themselves are involved in social media. And the reason why I think that is important is that there is a concept that is applied to understanding individuals who are adolescents called egocentrism. If you've listened to the show, if you've heard me on the DGS, then you've probably heard me talk about that before. So egocentrism is the inability to understand that other people have ideas and desires, needs that are different from yours. So that's what egocentric people are. It's different than conceit. So conceit is, I'm all that and a bag of chips. people who are egocentric may be conceited, but they don't have to be. And people who are conceited are probably egocentric. That's probably a requirement for being conceited, but you don't have to be conceited to be egocentric. A baby is not conceited, but is egocentric, because the baby will cry in the middle of the night and doesn't care who in the house that the baby wakes up, because the baby is egocentric. The baby doesn't have the ability to understand that others have different needs, wants, and desires. During adolescence, there are two aspects of egocentrism that are important. It's called the perceived audience and the personal fable. So during adolescence, you believe that everybody cares about you, and you believe that you are unique and that your story has never been told before, which is a great thing, but mostly adolescents tend to be very much conformists. So they have this idea that they're completely unique while at the same time being very conformist in their behavior. So when you think about people who are 35, 40 years old, who are constantly on social media and think that there are actually people in the world that care that they went to Einstein. Is Einstein Bagels even still open? I don't know. But go to Bread Company and got a bagel and some cream cheese for breakfast, and they Snapchat their breakfast like other people in the world really care about that. That's egocentrism. And we see this being displayed now in individuals who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. That's a part of what we're talking about. These individuals are displaying behavior and modeling behavior that is very adolescent to children and adolescents who grew up in this generation, who already are in the throes of that developmental stage, and it is causing us to delay the maturation, emotional maturation of ourselves as a species. So let's talk to Dan and see what he has to say. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Fine. How are you, Don?
I'm doing great.
Just real quick, I just want to tell you that I think you're spot on. I'm listening to you for the first time, and I'm going, my God, everything he's saying, I've seen, I've experienced, I've lived through myself. I've got a 24-year-old son that was always on, it was like a punishment to send him outside.
Mm-hmm.
He was always
right.
on social media and playing, the games where you would interact with other people from around the country. And I look at him today, and he's my pride and joy. I love him to death.
Mm-hmm.
But I just see this sense of inability to develop relationships with anybody outside of through social media.
Right.
And I don't know what to do. I mean, he's 24 years old now, but like I said, everything you're saying, I just think that social media, even though they praise it's the greatest thing since buttered toast, I think it's the demise of mankind.
Well,
go ahead.
I appreciate the comment, and let me just say, I wouldn't be too overly concerned in this moment about your son, because as I'm saying, what we're seeing now is that emotional maturation is being delayed, but it isn't being completely prohibited. So it may be that your son develops all of the skills that you would like to see him have. He just may not display them masterfully until he's in his late 20s or even early 30s. But if he's going to live to be 110 years old, that may be okay, but we have to take it into consideration. My message to parents who are living with these people in this generation, children who are in this generation, is take that into consideration. Just understand you may not be able to treat those individuals as emotionally mature as you think you should, or as you yourself expected yourself to be, or your parents expected you to be, because it's different.
I got a question. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Okay. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I agree with you, but should, I guess, laws be taken into account as far as you're talking about the driving thing? Well, what about voting?
Mm-hmm.
What about, a lot of these things that you get at a certain age, that children are allowed to do certain things, and if they're emotionally developing later,
right?
How do they have the ability to make rash, mature decisions to make those, like I said, choices?
Right. I appreciate the call. I'll talk about it in just a second. So I think that's a great question, the idea of should we consider this ability and should we consider it in the context of kind of social norms and social expectations. Now, I don't know that this is ever going to happen. Certainly, I am all for driver's licenses being delayed until 18, but I've had a driver's license for a long time, so that's easy for me to say. I'm just in some of the literature that I read, I'd see that as something that people are starting to promote. They may even think in terms of voting and driver's licenses even being moved back to the age of 21. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen over the course of time. Now, do I think that changing that social policy is a mandate? No, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I understand the concern. Do these people have the capacity to be able to make these important choices at that age? But I also think that the probability of someone at the age of 18 going out and voting is already low. When you talk about these individuals who may not necessarily be socially connected, the probability of them going out and voting is even lower. So individuals who are 18 who are going out and voting, we saw that in record numbers with the election of Barack Obama, obviously, and that was because there was a wave of good feeling that was about, hey, we're going to go out and change the world. Those were individuals who were connected. And they went out and voted because they really believed in the message and they thought that they could be a part of the message. So I'm not really necessarily worried about the voting thing. I am worried about the driver's license thing because these individuals now are going to be on their phones and they're going to be texting, flying down the highway in a 2,400-pound bullet, not paying attention and being emotionally immature. So in that situation, I do have some concern about it. I don't know whether or not we're going to be able to change social policy, but I do think that it is the right time to start to ask those questions. All right, let's talk to Tommy. What's going on, Tommy?
Hey, thank you for taking my call this evening. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I work for a company. I'm a local construction worker here in St. Louis, and my direct supervisor, he's part of the family-owned business, and he just treats people like they're dirt. About every 4 months, somebody quits directly because of him. A guy who's very competent at his job got screamed at over a small mistake, and it wasn't just a small screaming. It was an on-and-on screaming up in the face. And he told him, you can't talk to me like that. I'm too good at my trade. He gave us 2 weeks' notice, and the guy pouted and, took 2 days off of work. And every little thing that you do is a trick box. If you do something on your own that you think is trivial and just take the responsibility and do it, he'll yell at you for not asking him first. He's your supervisor. Then when you stand there and wait till he's got a moment and you ask him about something before you do it, then he'll scream at you and tell you, don't bother me with these small details. You know to go do that. And so it's like no matter what you do, you're in the wrong. He seems to get great joy and gratification and self-empowerment or something by screaming at people. And everybody knows he's just a torrent. And even his brothers who are around and they say that he's been messed up all of his life, and that's just the way the guy is. And everyone's who's there that hasn't quit feels like, well, that's just Mike. Just get used to it. And I can't get used to it, and I need to understand on how to cope with being abused, being in a trick box, and going through a daily harassment. That's totally unreasonable.
Yeah, I hear you.
And because I like my job, I get paid well. And I got to learn how to be a good victim or something, and I'm having a hard time with it because he'll talk to you in a way that on his family's property that if he spoke to you that way, like down at the lake or at a ball game or in a park or in a restaurant or a bar, it would definitely cause a fist fight. He speaks to people like he's going to, it's what would normally start a fight.
Okay.
And he knows he's got all that power and protection. And I just need to know how I can deal with this or what I can do.
Okay. I'll talk about it. Thanks. So what he was talking about is if somebody is in a position where somebody is being dominated or domineering, and how do you deal with that? And that is a really, really difficult question. Now, I mean, ultimately, the answer to that question is difficult and harsh, and that is if there isn't any other way, you may have to think about changing employment. And I understand that you don't want to change employment and you would like to try and live with it. But what it really all comes down to is what's in your ability to control. You can only control your behavior and whether or not you go to work. You can't control how your supervisor treats you once you get there. But this has been going on since time in memoriam. Some people are just really not very nice people, and they may have been coddled, they may have been raised with a sense of entitlement, and they may not even recognize that their behavior is inappropriate, or they may not care. And so you can do things to try and deal with it yourself. You can try and do some self-care, do some meditation to try and clear your head. You can try and do some things that will help you to feel better about yourself when you go home and not have to suffer the slings and arrows of this at home. But ultimately, what you may end up having to do is ask yourself, is it worth it to go to work and put yourself through that kind of abuse? And I know that's not a good answer. I know that's not probably what people want to hear, but that is the truth of it. So let me just kind of finish up this idea of the social media thing. What we're missing is the information that allows us to experience empathic connectedness, and it's making people feel more isolated. So as people are looking at screens more and more, it correlates 100% with people's feelings of depression and suicidal ideation. So the more that a person is on a screen, the more depressed that they tend to be. The less that they're on a screen, the less depressed that they tend to be. Now, again, anybody can point out, oh, well, you know, I know so-and-so, and he looks at screens all the time. He's the happiest person in the world. I'm not trying to defend that. I'm just saying, as a rule, that tends to be statistically true. So one of the things that we do as parents is take control or monitor our children's behavior. That's our job, okay? So that is Psych with Mike tonight. If you have any questions or comments, you can get me on my website, michaelmahon.org. You can also podcast the show from there. There's information to be able to contact me, and also the synopsis of the show. So if you're looking for a specific topic, you can go to michaelmahon.org, and you can actually find a topic and then look at it and then find it on the podcast website. Okay, so follow me on Twitter at Psych with Mike. You can like the Facebook page at Psych with Mike. Remember, if it is 8 o'clock, if it's Saturday night, it's Psych with Mike.
With Mike.
Radio moves. Radio breathes. Radio never sleeps. And Next Radio keeps up. It goes where you go, so you never miss a beat. It's live, it's local, it's a connection. A shared experience, just you and your radio. And a couple million people, give or take. Next Radio keeps up. You thought that phone couldn't get any smarter? Well, it got simpler. It got leaner. It's got your back. And it'll keep you moving, winning, in the know. And it'll get you where you want to go. All in the palm of your hand. Next Radio, live and local, wherever you go.
Listen to your favorite FM stations with the free Next Radio app. Live and local, wherever you go. Download the free Next Radio app today.
Last chance clearance event. 2 locations. 1 amazing sales event only the driving force can do. It's all gotta go at both Royal Gate Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram locations in Ellisville and Columbia, Illinois. During our limited time last chance clearance event, Royal Gate must clear out all remaining new inventory in order to make room for the incoming 18s. So if you're that buyer who waits until the absolute end of the model year to get the lowest price possible, this is it. Get massive summer clearance event price cuts. Huge factory rebates. Max cash back for your trade-in, whether it's paid for or not. Plus immediate credit approval. Royal Gate's last chance clearance event. Manchester Road in Ellisville and